a matchup.
And what a team, Mike. Metro PCS and the iPhone SE for $0 on a network that covers 99% of people in the U.S. Oh, impressive.
Play with the best. Switch to Metro PCS on an unlimited LTE plan and get a 32-gig iPhone SE for $0. Metro PCS. Coverage not available in some areas, plus sales tax. Claim based on talk and text. Not valid for active numbers currently on the T-Mobile network or active on Metro PCS in the past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hey, everybody. Apparently, I'm hearing that there's this big swirl and swarm around the town that I'm doing a movie and all this exciting stuff is happening. Well, hi, everybody. This is the radio show. This is not the film. Thanks so much for everybody listening in today. It's a little earlier show, which is 12 o'clock Central Standard Time, which I'm totally okay with because, as usual, I have about 75 things on the docket for the day. So hopefully a good number of you are joining me in today. Before we get today's musical guest on, I just want to cover a couple really super quick things. First of all, reminder to everybody, check your calendars, anybody that's in New York City, because God willing, as long as everything goes okay with a few phone calls today, I'll be able to get to New York City sometime next week and get the ball rolling on filming and locations, and oh my gosh, there's so much happening. So, first of all, I want to convey that, like I said, check your calendars in terms of the New York City area. Let me know what you think as far as that goes. And if you can meet me, I'd be more than welcome to do so. As I mentioned yesterday, we're still looking for some more music. I'm still looking to cast 2 more actors in New York City. I already listed my timeline on there, and then certainly if you guys know anybody who wants to be my on-screen better half, I guess you could call it, let me know. It's got to be a non-union actor, so go ahead and do that. Second of all, I want to remind everybody I just released my catalog, and that would be the finalists and the winners for my film festival this last year, Art is Alive Film Festival. This was our inaugural year. Did amazingly well. I'm very excited about that. So we decided to take all my film reviews, the finalists and the winners, and put them into a catalog. So make sure you guys go ahead and get your copy. If you go to artisalivefilmfestival.yolasite.com, I will have that link on there where you can purchase it directly from there. Otherwise, I'm also going to go ahead and put it on the Art is Alive Film Festival Facebook page. And there's actually a page itself. It's called the Art is Alive, The Magic of Indie Movies. That's the actual Facebook page itself for the catalog. And that'll link you directly to the website where you can purchase it. Or follow Phil, CIN4251@gmail.com. That's my address. Email. Send me a note. Okay, so that takes care of that one. Obviously, next on the docket, my son's comic book. That's going to be, got next batch of copies coming up by the end of this week. Let me know what you guys want to do about that, and let's hope it's like 3,000 copies you want to buy. Why? Because we want to fund a clinical trial for kids with seizures. Of course, we all know this. You've been following this story with me for 3 years. So please do your best to support that. And I don't want to forget to remind everybody, tomorrow I have a double-decker radio show once again, 11:30 Central Standard Time and 12:30 Central Standard Time. So excited. 2 different ethnic backgrounds, 2 different independent filmmakers, both are female. Could not be more excited. Oh, my God, so excited. Okay, so now that you guys are done listening to me babble, let's go ahead and get our guest on the line. We can start speaking to Ms. Fort. Hello, young lady.
Hello.
Hi. You're so quiet.
Hi.
Oh, my God. You're like so quiet. I've been listening to your music in my house. Well, all morning long I was listening to your music. Yes, all morning long I had your music on while I was working, and I'm like, your sound when you perform is so much stronger and more aggressive. And so now when I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, my gosh, she sounds like she's 12. I mean, you sound so little. You do. Has anyone ever told you that?
Yes. No, I mean, not that I sound 12, but that I do sound different when people hear me sing and when they hear me talk. And I agree, it does sound different, but it's not on purpose. It's not like I'm trying to sound different.
No,
that's just how it is.
I get it. I totally
how are
get
you?
It completely. Well, you know, if you listen to that rambling in the first 4 minutes, yeah, it's a little crazy. I mean, you know, I have a show, and now I do PR, and I'm a writer, and I'm a journalist, and now I'm into this film thing. You know, I think we met through my film festival. I was looking for people for my first film festival in New York City, and it went so well. We're doing a second one now. And then, like an idiot, I decided, let's make a movie. Oh, my God. There's so much work with making a movie.
Amazing.
It's insane. I'm going insane.
That's
right
amazing.
Now.
Congratulations. I think this is maybe why I was surprised and the way I responded, like, oh, wait, now you're talking to me, because I was listening to all the things that you listed that you're doing, and I was shocked.
I'm just a simple girl. Trust me. Truly, I'm a very, very simple woman, without a doubt. So, yeah, it's just that I do a lot of different things, and this movie is very close to my heart. There's a belief that the mind and the body are connected together, and I've had some health issues, and so I've been advised that, yeah, do the movie. The movie's a lot of healing. So as I say to everyone, they get all excited because I'm like, I'm doing a movie, and they're like, oh my God, how exciting! And I'm like, I hate it. That's my hashtag phrase. I hate this movie, and I do. I hate it.
No.
I mean, there's nothing about this I like. I'm like, let's just get it done because it's difficult. It's going to be very painful. So that's probably why I keep saying that. It's a very, very painful process. Yes, but when I get done, I'll be much more pleasant. Like 2 months from now, I'll be a different person. But talking to me right now, I'm like, don't talk to me. I give you a lot of credit for coming on the show today. Congratulations. I'm not pretty right now.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, my God, I'm so excited. There's a lot to talk about here. So I want to backtrack, and I want to kind of start at the beginning because, first of all, it's always fascinating to me when people come on the show because obviously you live in New York now, but that isn't always the way it's been, obviously. First of all, you are from Israel. So because I'm not and I've never been there, this is an incredibly fascinating dynamic for me. First of all, because culture in Israel is not culture here in the United States, I'm guessing, or is it somewhat parallel? What is life like there for an artist in that country?
Well, it is. Even though it's a tiny country, there's a really thriving cultural scene. However, it is tiny, so everyone knows everyone. Everything that happens is still like the audience is not so huge for most of the cultural activities that is happening. So when I moved here, it was, and it still is overwhelming how, especially in New York, every night you kind of have to choose between at least 5 different options. And that's only when I'm talking about music, things that interest me. It's just really crazy. And in Israel, in every given night, I used to live in Tel Aviv, so it's not as overwhelming as here. It's still wonderful, and there's a lot of amazing music and art happening there. It's just tiny. So, yeah. But there's a lot of great culture happening there, for sure.
Well, right. And of course, we want to talk about that a little bit because most of us are just used to the States and being in New York or in the 50 states, rather. So tell me a little bit about, if you were to say to somebody listening today, like if they'd never considered going there, is it a good idea to visit? Is there something in particular, a particular reason, a particular something that should draw people there?
Yeah, definitely. I think visiting Israel is something that everyone should, not should, but everyone would enjoy because there's so many different things you can enjoy. First of all, just the country itself is really beautiful.
Of course.
Different parts of the country are super different. There's the desert, there's the sea, there's some, what we call mountains. Of course, when you live here, mountains are really mountains, and in Israel, it's more like hills when you compare it. But for us, it is gorgeous anyway. The food is incredible. The culture, as I said, it's really thriving. There's a really beautiful jazz scene in Israel, and not just jazz. I mean, a lot of great music, a lot of art, visual art. It's really interesting, and there's a lot happening. What else? Just meeting different cultures. It's always important for any human being. So visiting and seeing that, and of course, there's the aspects that are not so nice, which is what people mostly hear about.
Right.
The scarier things or the more depressing things. But if you just visit as a tourist, it's definitely a place that's worth visiting. Of course, for religious people or people who are just curious about history, there's so much that happened there as well, and so many meanings for this place. So I think it's a great destination.
Sure. Oh, I imagine. And I look forward to that, obviously. I've always said that I wanted to do some things a little more out of the country. If I could find time, maybe after I get this project done, it might be interesting. Because I saw a notation that you actually traveled to India as well. And those seem like two very diversely different things. What's the draw there in terms of going, that's vastly different. And India must have beheld something that's of interest to you. So what was the intrigue or interest to going there?
Wow, that seems like so long ago. Now I need to start thinking, what was I thinking then? I think I needed first of all a serious break from my what was going on in my life back then, and I wanted to find a place where I can be for a little bit of a longer term kind of travel, not just like a couple of weeks, because I ended up traveling there for almost a year. And India seemed like a good place because it's huge and there's a lot to see. It wasn't very expensive to travel there, at least back then. And the culture really intrigued me, and music, definitely. Music was one of the things I learned just a little bit, but I learned a little bit about the tabla, which is an Indian drum, actually a couple of drums. And that has had a huge impact on my musical path. So I didn't really know that before I went there, but I did know that I love the tabla and I want to learn a little bit. So that also drew me there. And of course, a place that offers both beautiful scenery and option to just travel, as a hike, can you say hiker? I don't know, like someone who likes hiking? Is that a word?
I think it's hiker. I think it is. I should know this. I'm pretty sure it is. Don't quote me, but yeah, I'm 90% sure it's a word. So you're good with that. Nice try. And it's got to be beautiful, both countries. Like here in Wisconsin, I live in Wisconsin, so whenever I go to New York City, it's so vastly different. Then when I go to LA and Las Vegas, it's always different. But I think that there's country cultural things that just make it so vastly different in a different dynamic, which is a great, and I think it's great for creativity, storytelling. Did it inspire and motivate you to make music or to do other things creatively?
You mean India? Oh, yeah, sure.
Or either or, India or Israel, really.
Well, of course, Israel inspired me in many, many ways throughout my life, both positive and negative. But India actually had for me, it had a huge part in my musical path, because up until my travel there, I took a break from music for a few years, and I did some other things. And when I traveled in India, through those tabla studies that I mentioned earlier, I started playing with some musicians that I met on the way, other travelers, other tourists, and it really brought me back to music. And I just came back to Israel knowing that I will not leave, without music again in my life. So that was really a huge
point.
Thing.
Oh, of course. I mean, I think we all have a moment in our lives where it comes to us where we're like, yeah, we know where we need to be, what we need to be doing, who we need to be surrounded by. In fact, I'm having that happen right now. It's a very eclectic time. And then I discovered while I was researching today, you'll find out by the end of the interview, why you came to me. I'm a big believer in the universe. The universe sends you people at that time, in that moment. And there's a reason you're on the show today. But you'll find that out later. So that's kind of exciting. But I think there is a purpose in a place. Oh, you'll be happy by the time we're done, that's for sure. Now, you must talk to me about this because, first of all, I'm always intrigued when someone says, okay, like you said, I started playing piano at the age of 5. And I remember when my kids were 5, I'm like, they want to play with dump trucks, okay, not pianos, not this or this. So I'm like, I'm wild about this concept of a 5-year-old playing piano. And I'm a 48-year-old contemplating learning it. So I'm like, is there a crash course for dummies, or should I just be like, no, because I can't devote a lot of time to this? Is it worth it? I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Because it looks like a beautiful instrument.
Yeah, well, it's totally worth it. I mean, learning a musical instrument is always worth it. And I always say, to my students and to everyone who asks me about it, I think it's never too late to start. Of course, it depends on what is your goal. If you want to be a concert pianist, then it might be a little bit late for that. But if you want to be able to enjoy making music and to explore a new language, I think it's a wonderful thing. And I always tell the story about my father, who never played an instrument, and all his life was surrounded with family of some of us are musicians. So he never played, but he's very musical. And we knew the story that when he was really, really young, he wanted to play the accordion, but his parents wouldn't let him. They wanted him to play the violin, and he was stubborn, and he said, well, I'm not going to play the violin. I want to play the accordion. So if it's not the accordion, I'm not going to play anything. And when he turned 70, both my sister, who is an incredible musician, and me, and we thought about this idea, and we joined our brother, of course, and we thought about the idea of giving him an accordion. and a few accordion lessons. And he started at the age of 70, he started learning music for the first time. And he plays the accordion. He doesn't practice too much these days, I think, but he's able to play and he's able to read music. So, it's never too late, and I think it's worth it because, of course, it's good for the brain. It's good for the soul if you want to be able to express yourself in a new way. I think that's an amazing way to do it. So, yeah, go for it. Not too late.
Nice. Well, I don't have enough to do right now. Just keep in mind, we're going to get to the movie first. Maybe after the movie gets done, then we'll consider that. I like to keep the options open.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of playing piano, first of all, I know that the piano was the primary, but it was a little unclear if you play other instruments. And what personally, as a person, what is so personally exciting to you about performing on piano versus another instrument, let's say?
Well, I don't play other instruments, even though I do. I strum the guitar occasionally, and I love using percussion sometimes, but it's not I don't consider anything else to be my instrument except for the voice. And what's exciting? Well, it's funny. I never even look at it this way because it's been there since I was 5, and it was kind of like this is what we do in our family. So there's a piano, and everyone learns how to play. So it's kind of like, okay, you do it. And as a child, I wasn't even so excited about it. I mean, I did it, and it came pretty easily to me, and I think that kind of just became a thing that I can do and I like doing, but I wasn't I was never a big, how do you say it? I never loved practicing as a child.
I get it.
So I would just do it, and it came kind of easily, so I could do it. But then I left it for a few years. And then, as I told you, the story with India and the music coming back to my life, then the piano came back as well. It's just, it's an instrument that can sound like a full orchestra, or it can be really minimalistic. You can basically do anything with the piano. It's incredible.
I know. It's amazing to me because some of my friends here in Milwaukee, they play it, and I'm mesmerized whenever I get an opportunity to be able to watch them and see their it's just amazing. And that's why I love interviewing musicians, whether you sing, whether you play, whether you do both. I can't do this. I can't even sing in the shower. I mean, I've tried to sing in the car. It's an embarrassment. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't. And so this is why I'm like, you know what? It's so awesome to bring people like you on because I can't do what you do. So I was like, you know what? That's very cool. So before we stray any further onto you, we should backtrack a little bit and talk about your older sister. Tell your audience a little bit, because I didn't know this until I started researching you, that you had an older sister who was in music. So 2 things. Give your audience a little background about your sister, and most importantly, can you tell me something that you learned from her that you utilize in your own music career?
Well, I learned so much, I don't even know where to start. But first I'll tell a little bit about her. Her name is Noa Fort. She's an international recording artist. She's a jazz pianist, and she records for ECM Records, which is a European-based, mainly jazz, but not only, label. Very famous. A lot of amazing artists are part of their roster, like her. And she lived in New York for many, 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 many years, and she moved back to Israel about 9 years ago. When I was still there, and we kind of switched. We always joke that one of us had to be here. So when she was here, I was in Israel, and when she moved back, I had to move here. So there will be some sort of a fourth. How do you say? Someone from the family has to be here to represent the family. Of course. And the other question you asked is what I learned from her, and that's
right.
Pretty much endless. First of all, I feel like my whole what's the word I'm looking for? I keep looking for words. Well, inspiration in music, as a young child, a lot of the music that I listened to was basically what she was listening to, even passively. So when she started exploring jazz, even though I wasn't even sometimes in the room, it just kind of became something that I listened to. And it was funny because when I did start my more jazz-oriented studies, I realized that a lot of the things that I kind of knew, or I kind of learned them passively, and they were in me. So I felt that I had some of that language in me just because she was listening to it, and I had to listen to it too because of her. So that was a huge part. And then also just, seeing the way she developed and the way that she went through in the music. And of course it took me years to start my own musical career and develop my voice, and it's always been inspired by her music or by her philosophy and her spirit. And yeah, you should check her out. Her music is incredible.
I definitely did. I did this morning, as a matter of fact. I was looking at her and I thought to myself,
great.
Well, of course, because that's part of your roots. It's part of your heritage. It's part of your background. And most importantly, sometimes it sheds a light on who I'm meeting, But I've always been very considerate of my guests. I thought, you know what, this is your sister, and I'm sure she gets her limelight, but today this is about your limelight, so I don't want to take away from you too much. But
it is it's such a big part in what I am. So
right.
I'm actually really glad that you asked me about her.
Of course, that's my job. So we try to be very thorough with that. So I'm like, yeah. So thank you for that. I appreciate that because it gives us a hindsight in terms of where you come from as far as that goes. One of the other intriguing things that I found out about was you yourself participated in a film festival. At one time you were the producer for something called the Eco Cinema Film Festival. Tell me a little bit about why you got into that.
Research.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you did. I'm impressed. Wow, that was also years ago. I think, let me see if I remember correctly. I think it was right when I came back from India, from that really meaningful year that I spent there, and I was so into nature conservation and ecology and treating the environment better, and I just tried to find ways to use my time to help, and I volunteered in some organizations, and through one of them I met this person who was the founder of this film festival that was dedicated mainly to films about ecology and all these subjects, environmental change and climate change, and I just helped him. I tried to help him, bring the films, produce it in many, many different ways. So that was my little thing in the film
That's
world.
So cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Do you know if they're still in existence? Cool. I was going to reach out to them because I'm like, that's a different concept.
That's a good question. When you asked me about it, I was actually trying to think. I'm not sure because I don't remember seeing anything about it in recent years, but I would be curious to check it as well. Yeah, it's always been really hard with funding. You know how it is. So I'm not sure
I know how it is. Still around? Yeah, we'll have to look into that because I would like to know. That's awesome. But congratulations on doing that, though, because that takes a little stretching. You know what I mean? That's very out of the ordinary to try something like that. Indie film is something that's always under-recognized, so I always commemorate greatly. When people step up and they want to be associated with something like that, it says something about you, so that's commendable. So congratulations on that one.
Thank you.
Clearly, I want to take the misnomer away because oftentimes when people hear that I'm interviewing a musician, they automatically assume that, well, apparently all she does is sit around all day and write music. And that's not true, actually. This young lady also, you work in Brooklyn, which is funny because I actually go to Brooklyn. When I come to New York, that's where I stay. And so tell the folks a little bit about your day job. So when you're not running around and making beautiful music, what are you doing?
Well, my days are very, very different. Every day I do other things. So, yeah, I try to devote time as much as possible to writing and performing. But other than that, I'm also teaching. I teach piano privately. I do music therapy work, which is my master's degree is in music therapy, and I use music to work with different populations. So I work twice a week. I work with kids or youth at risk in an after-school program through the Brooklyn Conservatory, which has an amazing music therapy program. So they kind of send me to different places. So one of the places is this after-school program. I also work with adults with developmental disabilities in their group homes. So mainly, I use music in different ways to work with different populations, either teach or do music therapy or music therapy related activities. Sorry. And other than that, rehearsals, sessions, trying to meet and play with as many people as possible and get inspired to write more and improvise and, reach bigger audiences that might get inspired by the music.
And
so
your music is
today.
inspiring.
Thank you.
Well, and that's just it. And I was listening to it, and we'll play one of the cuts because I picked one in particular. So I'm like, we'll play your music, obviously. But it's kind of it. I always think that people just assume naturally because that's your given choice in terms of occupations. That's what you do all the time, which obviously most of us, including myself, who is a starving writer, we all have our day jobs. We all have other things that we have to do because otherwise, folks, you're going to go broke. So as much as I want to believe you're the next Cher or you're the next whatever, we all have to have a regular job, obviously. But now let's talk about that.
To do it. Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt, because I know that you had your MA in music therapy, but I found it interesting that you also have a major in biology. So I'm like, do you kill people, or like do you cut bugs open, or like I'm like, why? What's with the biology? It doesn't seem to fit. Is it me?
No, it's not you. I mean, it's funny because when I look at it today, I also ask myself, who was that person? Because it's interesting. We just go through. I know a lot of people who do. We go through phases, and as I said, there was a time in my life where there wasn't, music was not a real part of my life back then. I mean, it's always been important to me, but there were a few years where I didn't think I'm going to be a musician. And what I did was study biology, and I aimed, I think the original thought was that maybe I'll become a veterinarian. And I was always just curious about, as I mentioned with the film festival, the whole concept of the environment and ecology and researching animals and animals' lives. So it's always been there. It's always been something that I care about. But when I took that path to actually study it, I realized that it's not really how I want to, at least the opportunities that this degree offered me wasn't so interesting, and that wasn't really the way I wanted to spend my life. And the creativity that it offers me was not what I needed. So basically, it was a phase, and in this phase, I think I was not so attuned to what I really wanted, which was to be a musician, and it took me some time. And so this path was a different one or a weird one. I mean, each person's path is of course different, but there are lots of musicians who, start from an early age, and that's it. That's what they do. So for me, it was a little bit different. I took this break for a few years, and then through that exploration and the travels in India, I kind of found the way back. But the biology thing was, it's always interesting for me now to think back and say, wow, study biology.
No, I get it.
But
I
was
totally
me.
get it.
It was still me.
I know, it's wild because I looked at that and I was like, am I reading this right? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm reading this right. So I just had to address that, obviously. The other thing I want to look at is you don't just sing, obviously, because I had mentioned that in the write-up that I put up. I'm like, okay, first of all, she sings. She also plays the piano. Tell me a little bit about it, because I couldn't find a whole lot of detail or information about the painting side of things. Or is that just something you do intermittently?
The painting?
Yeah.
I'm not. Oh, maybe you mean when I write, I call it sometimes painter of sounds. It's more like the way I describe.
Really? Okay, because somewhere when I researched you, there was I don't know if it was a write-up or an article or whatever, but it was indicative or almost inferring that you actually paint. So maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, that's interesting. I should check this out, but no, I don't.
Okay, well, never mind.
I mean, not that I'm aware of. Maybe it happens when I'm not aware of it, and that could be really interesting. But I know, not in my conscious time, I don't really paint.
Okay. Well, good. Apparently she doesn't
wish.
paint. There we go. All right. Now, let's look at this a little bit here, because I know I want to backtrack because what you mentioned was hugely important, because I knew that you had done work with at-risk children with disabilities. And the mental illness angle is interesting because I've been a mental health patient for 30 years, and most people wouldn't know that. I'm very candid about it, but you wouldn't know that. So these are three dynamically same but different sorts of types of individuals. So what makes you gravitate towards working with this class or category of individuals?
You mean the people that I worked in, the inpatient psychiatry?
Right. Meaning, like when you're speaking about working with at-risk children or people with disabilities, that's a little bit different than a mental health person to some degree. You follow me?
Yeah,
So I'm just
even
curious
though
the
I
motivation.
think there are, yeah. Well, I think it started, first of all, it started while I was at school as an intern during my master's. I just had the opportunity to work in inpatient psychiatry, and I was just curious because I never had any contact or any relation to such a setting. So I was just curious to see what it actually means, because I did have experience with other kinds of population. I did work with autistic children in Israel and youth at risk. I was familiar with that, but I never worked with the psych population like the ones that the people that I got to work with in the hospital. And also just I feel like it's so, I need to think for a second how to describe what exactly drew me to it. I think
That's okay. You can think about it.
The human experience is so deep, and yeah, and I think in every patient that I work with, I could see elements that I could identify with, even if they would be considered, extremely ill by society. And I just found it interesting how very saddening, first of all, to see what is the status that some of these people reach, and also, unfortunately, you see how the system is pretty much broken, not always offering the best options for people. And I was curious to see how music can perhaps offer something a little bit different, and it really gives you the ability to see how music can basically reach anyone in every level of awareness, or let's say a disconnection from what we perceive as reality. Music has this thing that can really kind of draw you in, and of course there are so many different people I worked with that had really different experiences, both of music and of life and reality. But it was really fascinating and saddening many times. Well, that's a good question. It makes me want to think about it more.
And you can't, because we're not quite finished yet. So keep pondering it over and thinking about all that good stuff. Because I know that you and many artists I've heard say this before, that there is such a huge component to music in and of itself, meaning that music has this magical ability in some ways to heal people. I'd like you to talk about that a little bit, meaning that I think people underappreciate the power that a musical piece has in terms of giving them peace, mental peace or otherwise. Can you talk a bit about that?
I can give an example from, responses that I get from people to my music, but also I actually want to mention a friend of mine came. So, okay, I'll start from the top. My sister is visiting town exactly these days, and she had a concert go, and a friend of mine came to her concert, and she never heard her play before, like in a live concert. And she told me and her at the end of the concert that she came in so stressed, and she's got a lot going on right now in her life that is really super stressful. And the concert was done, and she felt so relieved and relaxed, as if she went to some sort of therapy or massage or something like that. So this is one example. So just the experience of listening to music is in itself can have so many. It can influence us in many ways. Of course, music can also super energize us and even get us feeling anxious. In my work as a music therapist, actually, a lot of the work is not so much about listening to music, even though that happens too, but it's more about making music. I try to engage the people that I work with and the children and the adults to engage them in music making. So that gives them a chance to express themselves, maybe to release tension. Maybe if they're angry, they can express it in drumming, or they can scream, or they can, some people find it really hard. I think a lot of people find it hard to express themselves verbally. So music is allowing you this kind of expression, which can mean a lot, and you don't have to use words, and still people get it. Usually when I sometimes ask my either when it was patients when I worked in a hospital, or the people that I work with now who I don't call patients, but whoever it is. Can you, how are you feeling today? Can you express it in a sound? And then maybe I ask them, don't say in words, only in sound, and maybe other people can try to guess what is it that you're going through. What are you feeling? And people get it.
Oh, sure.
Music has this thing.
It does. It really, truly does. And I don't think people really appreciate that until they finally hit a rock bottom, or maybe they get to a point in their life where it's crucial. And then, you rely upon things like that, like your own creativity, whether it's writing, whether it's some form of artistic release. I think that's hugely crucial and important. I can't speak enough about that. And ironically, in 2013, you came to New York City, and I'm gathering, was it because there are a lot more opportunities for musicians here? Or why New York City? Why not LA? Why not Canada? Why not somewhere else?
Well, why New York? Well, I think I needed and wanted a change from the scene in Israel, a change for me to just get inspired, because I always, when I leave Israel and change the perspective, things are changing the way I think about things, and my music is inspired and influenced by that. So I wanted to change the scene for myself. And why New York? It's kind of the mecca of music, isn't it? Especially in the kind of music that I'm interested in, I think. Of course, I actually was thinking about Europe before coming to New York. But then I said, well, if I'm going to do it's already a hard thing to do, to move to a new place in the middle of your life. So if I'm already doing this hard move, why not take it to the extreme and try the hardest place? And if this doesn't work out, or I don't like it, I can always move to a different place, or of course go back to Israel in case I want to, and which might happen. So yeah, I decided to go to the extreme. I guess
there's nothing wrong with that, actually. I just worry about you guys, because I'm like, you know what, there's a lot of competition in New York City. There's a lot of musicians that are out there. It's tough, isn't it? I mean, don't you find yourself frazzled sometimes? Like, oh, my God, there's so many people here, right? Am I wrong? I mean, It's a little crazy.
No, you're right. It is crazy, but that's what makes it also so wonderful, because
I know.
The scene to get inspired from is endless. And as I said right in the beginning of the show, like every night you get to choose. It's kind of hard. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stay home because I don't know what to choose. There's so many options. So you just keep being inspired. And it's also addictive in a way. In this sense, I feel like this place can draw you in and you get addicted, and it's very hard to say no. Like you just want to explore all the time. So yeah, it's good and bad, I guess.
Very cool. And of course, obviously, all your endeavors have led you to finally putting together a debut album by the name of No World Between Us. I know that just was released in January, so it hasn't been that long. So how are things going with that so far? And how long did it take you to put the entire collection together before release?
Well, it took a while. We recorded it in actually 2015. And then I left it for basically a year. I just left the recordings. I was still in during my master's degree, and it was super crazy and intense, and I had no money, and I had no time and no mental time to do it. So I just kind of dropped it for a year and then came back to it after a year and slowly put it together. So it's fine. It's finally out. It's been really a really, really long process. And it's been received so far really well. We get really nice response from a lot of people, nice reviews. People came to our release and were super supportive, and I keep getting, emails, messages from people who are listening to the music, loving it, and get inspired by it. And at this point, I'm mainly eager to just record the next one and make it not such a long process as the first one was. But it took what it needed to take. And yeah, I think I'm ready for the next one.
You are not lying. I mean, folks, let me just tell you right now, I'm listening to this and all I'm thinking is, oh my God, you are so humble, it's sickening. When I play this song, you'll know what I mean. I mean, I've listened to at least 9 of your songs, if not more than that. And I'm like, everyone is different. Everyone has this very deep, intense, emotional vibe to it. It's breathtaking. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I got sucked in, and I could pick any song I wanted to pick. I'll tell you the song that I picked, which we're about to play, so I'll give you a little break from talking. I picked Mirrors.
Ooh,
so,
wow. Brave choice.
So, were you surprised? I mean, what would you have picked? What would you have told me to play?
I'm really happy. I mean, I would, of course, be happy with each one of them. But you know what's interesting? To me, Mirrors is, I mean, as you said, I think each one of them is very different. And Mirrors is maybe the one that is most, maybe nearest to what I'm doing more these days, which is I explore more improvised and free improvised music and more different forms than the more song-based songs that are in my album. So it's kind of actually what feels really almost the most relevant to what I do today, even though I perform the other songs as well. But in terms of where the music is going, I feel like Mirrors is really, maybe Mirrors and Just Wait are probably the most up-to-date, I guess, songs. So
Yay,
it's really cool that you
I'm
chose
so
it.
happy. Yay! Okay,
Really
so
cool.
before I play it, tell the folks what the song is about, and then I'll give them a listen to it.
Okay, so the name of the song is Mirrors. It's funny because it's one of those interesting processes. Each song came out in a different way. So this one came from the music. I first just improvised and came up with this melody, and because of the melody, the lyrics came. And it's basically about, I guess, not running away from yourself, looking at that mirror and not be scared of what you see, and don't alienate yourself from yourself. So I guess, that's mainly what it is about.
That was a really nice description, actually. You did really well on that. That was really cool. And don't get me wrong, folks. I mean, I don't mean to take away from your other music, by the way, because obviously we'll talk about the website, et cetera. But clearly, this is just the one that resonated with me. There's a bunch of them on there. And as I mentioned, there's different ballads, different melodies, different vocal changes. It's interesting. But I'm going to be quiet.
Thank
you be
you.
quiet. And this is 4 minutes of Mirror.
Great. Thank you.
Just
Well, did you hear that?
I did.
And obviously, folks, you're getting it on an MP3 version, so, I mean, it will behoove you clearly to go to the website and listen to the entire thing, but that was the one that kind of stood out for me. Now, I don't want to forget to ask you this obvious question, because you're involved in all these different things. So clearly because you have a day job, and clearly because obviously you write your own creations. Is that correct? You literally put together these songs on your own?
Yes, of course. The band is part of the creation process. But
right.
I write the music and the lyrics. Mm-hmm.
Right. I wanted to clarify that, obviously. So because you're just a busy beaver all the time, so let's say somebody listened in today and they're like, oh, my God, I love this woman. I want to see her. Because I was having trouble finding like a listing or a location of, now when you play, do people have to go to the Facebook page automatically, meaning do you have a gig that's coming up or a public appearance in the near future that's happening?
Yeah, well, there's many ways. First of all, people can sign up to my mailing list. So if they want to, probably the best thing would do to like my Facebook page, which is just Noa Fort Music. And also go to my website. If on Facebook, you know what, let me check something. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information. If people look on Facebook for Noa Fort, they'll see, they'll see my private profile, but the best thing would be to go for the artist page, which is called Noa Fort. And it has I always update about my coming concerts. Of course, my website is also updated with my concert date. Should I tell about my next concert, the one that's coming up? Right. Is that a good time?
Actually, I was just going to say, because I thought, don't you have a New York City appearance first? Or correct me if I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm missing. Okay, let's backtrack. So do you have a particular lounge appearance or a particular restaurant you're playing in or something that's happening in March 1st? Because I know it's almost the end of February. Right? Okay.
No, not in March 1st. We have our next concerts with the concert with the band would be March 19th. In a place. So that's happening at Cornelia Street Cafe.
Okay.
That's in Manhattan, in Cornelia Street.
Of course.
It's a lovely listening room.
It is.
So we're gonna. Oh, you've been there? You know it.
I think from memory, I'm trying to remember, remember I'm going to be living there. And I live in Wisconsin now. I'm going to be living in New York within 6 years. So every trip I come back, I keep going to a different borough. So I'm like, I'll try this, I'll try this. And then when I'm in the city, I try to get to different places. Yeah, I'm a big jazz fan. Like, I like cabaret and I like lounge singing and I like everything that comes along with the sound of you, actually. And so I always gravitate to places that feature artists like that. So, yeah, it's not a first stretch for me as far as that goes and such. And doing those sorts of things. I'm also curious to ask you, so now that you did the debut album, it's probably a little too premature to ask, but I'm going to do it anyways. You think there might be another one in your future in the next year? Another album?
Well, I would like to say yes. If we'll get some funding, it will happen in the next year. If not, it might take a little bit longer. But for now, I'm focusing on booking us for touring concerts outside of New York and outside of the States. And starting to plan the next album for sure. I'm writing music. We're trying it in our concerts, and I'm also developing some other projects in mind. And hopefully, I don't know if it will happen within this year, but hopefully, sometime really soon there will be another album.
Of course. Well, and okay, so we want to go through a couple of things because, oh my God, can you believe this? We've been on air almost an hour. Doesn't this just blow your mind away?
No, I cannot.
Oh my God.
Wow, it's 1:51.
I know, right?
Or
I'm like, either I'm really
entertaining.
Exactly. Either I talk a lot, or I'm really entertaining, or my questions are good, or you know what I mean? Oh my God.
All of the above.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well,
so there's a couple. there are a few different things that I want to go through on a business end before we wrap the interview up, which is, first of all, I want to let you know this, like friends that you have there that may not know this. About 2 hours, this interview is live right now. So within about 2 hours, or let's say this evening, I'll have an actual archive link of this episode on Blog Talk Radio. I'll forward to you the actual link on here. I also have a YouTube channel, and so I'll put it on my YouTube channel so everybody can listen to it. And then it's there forever. So anybody can go back. If they didn't hear you today, they can hear you next week, next month, next year. So that's number one. Number two,
Wonderful.
I'm going to read off these different places to find you. Now, just so I pronounce this right, it's Noa, is that right? Noa Fort?
Yeah, it's
If I
Noa,
pronounce your name. Okay, good.
just like Noah, the male
That's
name,
like
but it
Noah
is,
the artist.
it's different.
Okay, Noa Fort is the young lady's name. Now, let me read these off for you. The website is noafort.com, and it's spelled again, Noafort. And that's the website, noafort.com. The Facebook page is Noa Fort Music. She has a YouTube channel.
I think it's actually just Noa Fort. Noa Fort Music is a different page that I should actually delete.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the artist page.
Because that's what I found.
That's my bad. That's my bad.
Okay.
There's Noa Fort.
Okay.
It is Noa Fort Music. If you click it in the in the address bar,
okay.
you write Noa Fort Music. That's right. But the name of the page when it appears as only Noa Fort. But if you want to put the address, the actual address, you put facebook.com/Noa Fort Music. That's right.
I gotcha. Okay. And, of course, she has that on
confusion.
Facebook. No, I just want to clarify. And then, of course, she has a personal page. So, of course, for her, it's her own person. She is also on Spotify and LinkedIn and Bandcamp.com. And she also has an IMDb profile.
Baby.
And CD Baby.
Right. And CD Baby. And soon it should be on iTunes. And did we mention Amazon? We did, right?
We did.
Yeah, it's on the way to
iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you're not on Instagram or Twitter, is that correct? Because I didn't find anything.
I am on Instagram. Yeah.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, the Instagram.
And is it your name?
Instagram name is, it's Fortissima. So
that's why I couldn't find you. Okay.
So Fortissima, Fortisima. But actually, if you look for just Noa Fort, I think it should appear, even though it might name.
There you are. You even look differently than you sound too. You do. You totally look different than you sound too. That's so funny. Oh, that's so funny. So there you go. So now we have the Instagram handle. So good. We've covered all the ways to reach her. Now there's only two things left. Everybody that comes on my show, they always get a surprise. So you're going to get your surprise now. And then at the end, I get to tell you what I think of you. And I do that more so because, yes, I'm a journalist and I can research you, and that's all fine and good. But sometimes just giving the impressions of someone really helps to sway someone so that they can check you out and get to know you. So one of the things that I was thinking about before I put you on was, I've been looking for music like yours for a while because it's pretty hard to find somebody who has a distinctive sound like that, who has an appreciation for jazz and soulful music like yourself. So I have a question for you. The second reason I picked Mirrors is because the name of my movie is Love's Two-Way Mirror.
Oh, wow.
So it's very ironic and iconic, actually, that not only did you perform a song called Mirrors, the lyrics and the music fit. So I was wondering if you didn't mind, I would really like it if it could be the signature opening song for my film.
Oh, my goodness. That's such a beautiful request.
I mean, you can think about it. You don't have to, say,
of course. I'll think about it. We can talk about it. But thank you for offering me. What an honor.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, of course. Let's talk about it after the show.
Oh, without a doubt. I think it would be a terrific idea. I mean, clearly, it's very important to me that this film is done right. I mean, even though I dislike it, it's clear to me that I have to do it justice. It's very important to me. From the music to the people that are in it to the performers, it's a big deal. So I need to find things that fit, and this just fits incredibly well. So it's just that simple. So I figured I'd surprise you on air and say, hey, how would you like to be in the movie industry? Because Just wait. We'll talk about it. So there's that. So the last thing I get to do is tell you what I think of you. So here goes. So these are my impressions of Miss Noa here, and I have to tell you that I was a little disappointed. She originally approached me about participating in my film festival, and sadly, by that point, I had already found musicians, actually, and I have to tell you that they were lovely. I don't know if you're familiar with Gina Healy. She actually plays in New York City a lot, but she ended up coming and doing one night of music for us, which was amazing. And so I was very disappointed I didn't get a chance, but I knew flat out, I had said to her flat out, I can't use you for the festival, but however, I have this great radio show with this great listening audience, and she jumped on the bandwagon, and luckily she took a chance on me, and she's like, of course I'll come on the show. So first of all, I was flattered by her demeanor and the fact that she was so sweet and so kind and so professional in approaching me and saying, hey, I want to be on the program. So here goes. My general and overwhelming impression of you is not only quite favorable, but it's also fascinating. I find you of interest for more than one reason. Clearly, we talked about the country connection, meaning that you come from a very different country from ours, which I think enables you, in essence, to play music much more beautifully and to put together compilations that are much more creative. Hands down. That's number one. Second of all, she's beautiful. I mean, go to her website and look at her. She's not ugly, folks. I mean, the woman's got beauty to her.
Oh, my God.
So when you pick that voice and then you look at the woman and you put her on a stage, there's no doubt whatsoever that you should be lining up to see her. Third of all, as I mentioned earlier, she's extremely humble. I don't think she's really truly aware of the talent by which she has inside of her. And I'm hoping that by some of my channels, and God willing, she says yes, she'll let me help her, which would be absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I found you to be just nothing short of lovely. Your music is nothing short of impressive. You really have a very large and lengthy career ahead of you. If there's anything I can do to facilitate that, know that I will. I mean, you're more than welcome to come back on the show anytime whatsoever. I'm just grateful that you gave us this time and that I've done you justice. I really pray that I have done well
Thank
for
you so much. I am kind of shocked right now. I don't know what to say.
Oh, no. Everybody gets shocked.
Thank you.
I'm like, what? It's just thought.
It was lovely,
to
talk to you. And
Thank you.
You did really beautiful research also. I was surprised you found a lot of information that I forgot about myself.
Well, you are you. It's my job to remind you of you, apparently. But as long as you're satisfied, that's wonderful. And like I said, I'll send you the link over later on today. When it becomes archived, I'll send it to you. So you have that. You can put it on your YouTube channel. It'll be on my Blog Talk Radio channel. And then get a hold of me, later on, if not today, tomorrow, and then we'll discuss the whole, or whenever. Just send me a note, and we can talk about the music thing. Because I'd be privileged and honored if I was able to use it.
All right, we will.
All right. Sounds wonderful, Noa. All right, you have yourself a great afternoon.
So
I'm going to wrap up the show.
You too.
I'll talk to you soon.
You too.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Tell me she wasn't just absolutely phenomenal, right? See, this is exactly why I like my New York City musicians. So, again, one more time. Facebook, she is Noa Fort, and that's, again, NoaFort. And she also has a personal page. The website itself is noafort.com. She can also be found on bandcamp.com, IMDb, LinkedIn, CD Baby, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Her Instagram, as she said, is Fortissima, which is Fortisima. And lastly, I don't think we got a confirmed note on that, but apparently she'll be on iTunes as well. So go ahead and check out on her website for the details if you want to go see her in New York City in Manhattan on March 19th. Again, huge thank you so much to Noa for following through and arranging this. I think it was just a wonderful experience. Again, thanks so much to my fans, my followers, my listeners, everybody supporting me during this crazy mayhem of radio and film and PR. And I'm going nuts. Just thank you. Know that you are loved and appreciated. Hopefully my day is going to get better. I guess we'll find out in the next 10 minutes when I check my messages and calls and emails. You guys have a wonderful day. I look forward to talking to you again 11:30 and 12:30 Central Standard Time tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Take care.
What a matchup!
And what a team, Mike. Metro PCS and the iPhone SE for $0 on a network that covers 99% of people in the U.S. Oh, impressive.
Play with the best. Switch to Metro PCS on an unlimited LTE plan and get a 32-gig iPhone SE for $0. Metro PCS. Coverage not available in some areas, plus sales tax. Claim based on talk and text. Not valid for active numbers currently on the T-Mobile network or active on Metro PCS in the past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What a matchup!
And what a team, Mike. Metro PCS and the iPhone SE for $0 on a network that covers 99% of people in the U.S. Oh, impressive.
Play with the best. Switch to Metro PCS on an unlimited LTE plan and get a 32-gig iPhone SE for $0. Metro PCS. Coverage not available in some areas, plus sales tax. Claim based on talk and text. Not valid for active numbers currently on the T-Mobile network or active on Metro PCS in the past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.